Here, so let's bring in Chuck Todd, NBC News political analyst Nicole Wallace, and MSNBC's chief legal correspondent Ari Melba. Good morning, guys.
Yeah, this is such a big story. We needed three of you today. So let's start with you, Chuck, and the reaction in Clinton world. I suppose it's relief. On the other hand, if you're saying, good thing we weren't indicted today, not a great day on the campaign trail.
Not something to celebrate, but it is a minimal sense of relief. But look, they have to sit here and now rebut charge after charge because, you know, she had a couple of standard talking points. One is I never sent or received any email that was marked classified. James Comey said, no, that's not true. There were some that did. And then he said, you know what, somebody in your position should have known better, even on some of the exchanges that were there. So, look, she has a credibility problem. It's the head of the FBI that says she has a credibility problem. And I have to say, on any other day, against any other candidate, I'd say this would be a total and complete disaster. But it's something about Trump that kind of, you say, well, she can recover, I guess.
Nicole, no recommendation of charges. Chuck, though, touched on just one of the contradictions laid out by FBI Director Comey. Among the others, the account was vulnerable to hackers, perhaps to foreign actors. She did delete work emails, did use multiple servers, multiple devices. This goes against many of the things she said. So as you listen to that case, even without a recommendation of an indictment, did you feel the race changing at all?
Well, I had this feeling that it affirmed what I always think is true, is that voters always get it right. Even when they don't have all the information, their gut take on people is always right. And on the question, we talked about this yesterday, on the question of honesty and trustworthiness, she has a 22-point deficit to Donald Trump. What happened yesterday simply affirms what voters already know to be true, which is that she has a very complicated relationship with the truth. I would say, though, to your point, I watched the 66-minute Trump speech last night and nearly wept. He got to the points that he needed to make to bring this into focus, what the politically neutral FBI director said about Hillary Clinton lying on at least 6 occasions about her email practices, but it was wrapped in so much other stuff. I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure, that it will be the effective sort of honing in on a message that he needs to prosecute if he wants to win in November.
Say that the question is whether Trump prosecutes the political case. Still legal questions, Ari, about whether this should have been a criminal case. If you look at this statute, there is an issue that was raised, and a lot of people are keying into a couple of words that the FBI director said. He said she was extremely careless with her email practices. There is a criminal statute that allows for a prosecution if someone is grossly negligent. And for many people, especially a lay ear, you hear extremely careless and grossly negligent. Sounds like the same thing, sounds like a case that could be brought.
I think it's an important point, but one that Jim Comey's well aware of as a former federal prosecutor himself in the Bush administration. What he's saying is there is this standard that they didn't meet criminally, and the carelessness is a judgment call. It is a criticism, but I would call it a non-legal criticism. He very carefully himself picked those words to say that. And that goes to what happened yesterday, an unusual presentation that allows people to process this information. It was effectively a very clean book of health on the idea that there were no crimes, because not only did he say we recommend no charges, he said no reasonable prosecutor would move forward on these facts. And then, as just discussed, he outlined many other things that are disconcerting potentially for voters. I think what's important here, if there's a page to turn, is we have a legal process. We have an FBI that tries to be nonpartisan. Jim Comey serves a 10-year term. He will be working presumably for the next president, no matter whom it is. And so this is a chance for folks to look at what he said, for voters to assess, and to go back to a policy and political analysis after the legal analysis from our career investigators has been no crime occurred here at the federal level.
Very, very quickly, I just have 10 seconds. Trump has said Petraeus was charged for doing less. Is that a correct analogy?
Legally, that is not true. David Petraeus took 8 notebooks physically and handed them to someone who had no authorized access.
He
also signed, I'll just finish the point, though. He also signed a plea deal with prosecutors that said that he admitted to misleading FBI agents in October 2012. There are differences in that case. There's a fair debate about all of this, but that case, I would say, does have different legal facts.
Chuck, quickly, Hillary Clinton was out campaigning with President Obama just a couple of hours after all this happened. No reference to it, not even a hint about it. Does this go away for her as easy as they hope it will?
I don't think it goes away. I think the cloud is still there. She didn't get the clean political bill of health. But, you know, again, I think it really depends on how well or not well the Republicans prosecute this case. I think Paul Ryan's ready to prosecute this case well. I think a lot of Republicans are. I don't know about Donald Trump. I mean, mixing in, as Nicole said yesterday with that speech, mixing in Saddam Hussein, praise for Saddam Hussein on the day, and then trashing Comey. He ought to be praising Comey and then using his words against her. But this is Donald Trump.
Nicole, those were not tears of joy. We should point out those were real life tears.
You know, and this is where Trump becomes sort of a riddle wrapped in a headache, wrapped in a conundrum for Republicans, because this was a day when you just had such a clear strike against Hillary Clinton made by the FBI director himself. You just had to point to it. You almost could have played it at your rally and said, don't believe me, listen to him.
We've not heard the last of this. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.